primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
A house fire in Augusta left one man badly injured today. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Just after 2 o'clock this afternoon, crews were dispatched to 347 Riverside Drive, where Augusta Fire Chief Dave Groder says they found fire in the basement. Officials say one man was inside at the time. He was critically injured and rushed to a local hospital where Life Flight was dispatched to meet him. Groder says the fire was contained in the basement and quickly brought under control. The northbound side of Riverside Drive in Augusta between Route 3 and Stevens Road was shut down as crews worked the scene. The cause remains under investigation by the State Fire Marshal's office. The man's condition is not known. Meanwhile, Augusta police are investigating a suspicious package delivered to the Maine Republican Party headquarters. Chief Kevin Lully says officers responded around 1 p.m. to the headquarters location on Higgins Street for a report of a suspicious package received. There are no confirmed details on what was in the package, but it was isolated. Building occupants were evacuated, and police are working with other law enforcement partners to identify the contents. Police say there are currently no known injuries or illnesses associated with that package.
It's unfortunate that things are getting insane like this. I mean, we're just a political party. We haven't done anything crazy, and now we're getting, stupid envelopes with stuff in it. So it's not going to stop us, and we always act cautiously when it comes to safety situations, but we're going to continue doing our work because this stuff is getting out of hand.
Augusta police ask anyone with information regarding the whereabouts or identity of anyone involved to reach out to the Augusta Police Department's Criminal Investigations Bureau at 207-626-2370 and then dial extension 3418. Folks in Bangor gathered this evening to voice their questions and concerns around a proposed rate hike for water. Our Kelly Warren explains.
10.5% is a huge increase, no matter how you calculate. Did you get a 10.5% increase in wages this year?
Economic conditions are straining Bangor's water district and Bangor residents. The water district laid out their plan Thursday to raise water prices 10.5% across the board.
One of the biggest issues facing us is we have 200 miles of water main under the streets of Bangor, and 42 of those miles are over 100 years old. You're talking $2 million a mile for replacing water mains. That's $84 million we're facing.
The city experienced 73 water main breaks in 2025 alone. Those from the district say their water prices, even with the proposal, are already affordable compared to other options.
A gallon of water that you buy at a store is $1.26 roughly, and we sell that for 0.0107 cents for that same gallon of water.
But residents say they're facing much more strain on their wallets in recent years, and this proposal only worsens it.
And today we are looking at rate increases of 60% here in Bangor for electricity, 40 to 60% increases on natural gas and heating oil, and this is all since 2020.
The 10.5% price hike is a flat rate for all water consumers. The Water District says for the average residential consumer, the increase will be around $11 per quarter, making an extra $44 per year.
There comes a point where it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and I'm not saying this is it. I just think things are going to get worse until we do something different.
The increase proposal has to be approved by the Public Utilities Commission. Residents have 90 days to circulate and present a petition in opposition if they choose. Otherwise, if the proposal is approved as it currently stands, the new pricing will take effect April 1st. In Bangor, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news tonight, a man was arrested in Brewer after several alleged instances of trespassing. 58-year-old David Limacher was arrested for criminal trespass on February 14th after Brewer police say they located him outside a Wilson Street business attempting to fight customers entering. According to police, Limacher refused to leave the property after multiple warnings and was arrested but was later released. Later that same day, police located Limacher ordering a pizza to a closed South South Main Street business. He was arrested again and charged with another count of criminal trespass and violation of conditional release. He was later released from jail. Today, officers responded to a report of a man sleeping in a different closed business on South Main Street. Officers arrived and located Limacher at the scene. He was arrested once more on charges of criminal trespass and violation of conditional release. Well, as Maine's housing shortage gets worse, officials warn that if nothing changes, the state could be nearly 80,000 units short by 2030. At the State House today, the newly formed coalition Build Homes, Build Community laid out its priorities for the abbreviated legislative session. Members echoed concerns raised by state leaders, saying the lack of housing is directly tied to a struggling workforce as it makes it harder for employers to hire and for communities to grow. The coalition says it wants lawmakers to deregulate barriers they believe are slowing development and driving up costs.
Maine has experts who have already identified specific regulatory barriers that slow housing down without improving outcomes. The LD 1375 process produced concrete recommendations we should enact because predictability and speed matter if we want to get homes built.
The group also pushed for bills they say would streamline state permitting and reduce delays to get more homes built faster. A group of Maine people is working to spread the message to stop tax cuts for the wealthy and put that money towards solving Maine's affordability crisis. Mainers for Tax Fairness brought that message to lawmakers today in conjunction with the legislative hearing on the tax components of Governor Mills' supplemental budget. Leaders say these funds should help Mainers struggling with everyday expenses like housing, health care, and food.
We need more than just one-time checks. We need long-term solutions for long-term problems. No amount of Band-Aids will fix an economy that too often feels rigged. Mainers want stability. They want fairness. They want solutions with staying power.
Tipping added that there are several bills in the legislature on these issues, and leaders need to work to ensure they become law. Meanwhile, the right to repair ordinance is back in committee. It has been over 2 years since the referendum passed, giving people access to manufacturer information needed to repair modern vehicles at independent auto repair shops. At the start of the legislative season, the bill carried over was vetoed by Governor Janet Mills, who cited a provision that would have allowed automobile manufacturers to control how vehicle telemetric data is accessed by independent shops, which was not included in the original referendum voted on by constituents. State leaders say that veto has since been upheld by the legislature, which is why it is back at the committee level.
Attorney General formed a working group of all the stakeholders, all sides of the issue, to try to work out some of those differences and to move to so we can move on to a very seamless implementation of that law.
As it currently stands, the commission will be made up of 12 people from various parts of the automotive industry, including motor vehicle manufacturers and independent repair facilities. The Joint Standing Committee on the Judiciary heard public testimony today on bills that aim to support tribal sovereignty for the Wabanaki nations. LD 785 is a priority bill for the Wabanaki Alliance and Maine's Environmental Priorities Coalition. Advocates say the bill would restore the Wabanaki nation's inherent right to self-determination and treat the Wabanaki nations like all other federally recognized tribes. According to the bill's co-sponsor, Senator Rick Bennett of Oxford, the legislation is based on the recommendations of a bipartisan task force of legislators to amend the Maine Indian Claims Settlement Act to restore self-governance over a range of issues.
It's not just about the tribes. It's about all of us Mainers. And if the tribes are prospering and are free to pursue their own ambitions, then I think that it will lift the boats for all Mainers.
The committee also heard public testimony on LD 395, an act to restore access to federal laws beneficial to the Wabanaki nations. According to the Wabanaki Alliance, this bill would modernize the settlement acts, ensuring that the tribes in Maine are not excluded when Congress passes federal legislation for tribes nationwide. And now, folks, we will pause for a first look at our forecast.
All right, thank you. Experience the quality. Call them at 922-2043. Quality Automotive. Let's talk weather out there for us today, and we are talking about temperatures hanging out pretty much in the mid-upper 30s across the area. Again, that's slightly above average tomorrow. Same story, followed by some cooler temperatures likely over the weekend, and also some snow is back in the forecast for tomorrow night into Saturday. Okay, the winds have gone calm out there again for us this evening. That could mean some dense fog late tonight. The clouds are increasing to the west of us now. For us, though, it's been sunny all day, but this is a thing. This is going to travel to our south this evening, but this back over here, that will catch us on Friday evening, likely with some snow Friday night into Saturday morning. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is clouding over late with low temperatures down near 6. Your full forecast is coming up.
And we will be right back with more local news.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Hi, I'm Tony Hafford from TC Hafford Basement Systems, the all things basement-y company. Basement waterproofing, basement structural repair, humidity and mold control, and nasty crawl spaces too. Since 1991, over 15,000 Maine homeowners have trusted TC Hafford Basement Systems to fix their basements. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basement-y.
Stanley's Auto Center in Medway congratulates Katahdin and Lincoln Lakes regions on a great season. Good luck in the tournament. Katahdin Federal Credit Union wants to wish the very best to all the teams in the tournament. Gifford Electric would like to wish good luck to all the boys and girls teams in this year's tournament.
Do you own a business or nonprofit in the state of Maine? Annual reports can now be filed online. All business and nonprofit entities on file with the Secretary of State's office must file an annual report to maintain a good standing status. The annual filing deadline is June 1. Questions? Contact the Corporations Division at 207-624-7752 or cec.corporations@maine.gov. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Welcome back. Members of Maine law enforcement are hoping to expand an electronic victim notification system to more county jails following the launch of a pilot program last summer. Our Grace Blanchard has more.
The Maine Sheriff's Association is pushing for lawmakers to fund an electronic victim notification system to be implemented across all of Maine's county jails.
Legislators themselves have spoken several times now asking us that very important question. Why is Maine the last state in the country to have electronic victim notification? It simply doesn't make sense.
In May of last year, the Sheriff's Association launched a pilot program at 4 jails using Vine, a system where individuals can voluntarily register to be notified upon the release of an inmate.
This program's worked incredibly well. We've had over 6,000 notifications that have occurred already.
Sheriff Morton says they are now hoping to see lawmakers approve $250,000 in the upcoming supplemental budget to move beyond the pilot project and establish a 2-year program that reaches all 15 county jails.
This situation allows us to make sure that we're protecting victims and witnesses who I feel have been gotten too often in the criminal justice system reform, that we're losing track or losing the attention that should be paid on victims and witnesses.
According to Sheriff Morton, the service is also intended to complement and improve existing notification systems mandated by law for certain crimes.
This isn't a county corrections issue. This is a statewide issue to protect victims and witnesses through electronic notification and no longer put our state last in something that's probably the most important.
Morton is expected to advocate for the funding at a public hearing in Augusta next week. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The first woman to serve as Adjutant General of the Maine National Guard and the first female Brigadier General in Maine has been promoted. Brigadier General Diane Dunn was promoted to Major General this week. The ceremony happened in front of family, friends, state colleagues, and currently serving and retired service members. Major General Dunn is the Adjutant General for the Maine Army National Guard and Maine Air National Guard, as well as the Commissioner for the Maine Department of Defense, Veterans, and Emergency Management. She's held numerous positions since starting her career in 1988, including Company Commander, Battalion Commander, and Chief of Staff, to name a few. In 2020, Dunn became the first female Brigadier General in the state of Maine. In 2024, she became the 41st Adjutant General for the Maine National Guard and first female to hold that position. Her newest promotion makes her the first female Major General to serve in the Maine National Guard, and she said, quote, "I did not see this as a personal achievement alone, but as a testament to progress and possibility. If this moment inspires even one young person to believe that there is no limit to their service, then it will have meant something far greater than a star on a uniform." A cafe in downtown Ellsworth is under new ownership, and even though she's in her mid-20s, her familiarity with the establishment is quite extensive. Our Doug Banks has the story.
At 24 years old, dreams can sometimes feel far removed from reality. But for Sailor Desjardins, she's woken up and smelled the coffee. On Monday, the keys and tradition of the Flexit Cafe were handed over to her.
It's been pretty good so far.
Well, she's perfect.
This is Paul Marcosian, who alongside his wife started the cafe in 2015. Its concept is what's called a third space, a place where people can sit down with a cup of coffee and stay for hours. Something the new owner is no stranger to, because when she was in college, she'd stop in, buy
a cup of coffee and some hash brown bites,
and study for hours. Never once was she asked to leave.
I really hope to keep that same vibe.
Desjardins also began working at her home away from home a few years ago. But this past fall, an opportunity arose.
I would tell people, you know, I'd like to retire in about 2 years. I've been saying that for like 6 years.
And I never really took him seriously because he's just always working.
But one day she asked me if I was serious
about selling Flexit.
And I said yes.
I knew I wanted to start my own business or take over another business.
We started talking and we came to an agreement.
So now begins a new chapter at a cafe, decorated with employee-drawn art and delicately crafted coffee. But their new chapter is written within the same book.
Most of the people that come in here know him, and he's able to just go out into the lobby and talk with almost everybody at every table. And I hope to be able to do that and form that connection with the community as well.
In Ellsworth, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Just ahead, we have your national headlines. Stay tuned.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
R&K Variety would like to congratulate the Hamden basketball teams on an outstanding season this year. Your hard work and dedication has paid off. Congratulations on making it to the tournaments this year. Wishing you all the best of luck from Kylie Bean, State Farm agent in Orono. Gifford Electric would like to wish good luck to all the boys and girls teams in this year's tournament.
When lives are on the line, they don't hesitate to run towards danger. Unfortunately, the same gear that protects them from deadly flames can be hazardous to their health. Senator Susan Collins to the rescue. Susan helped introduce legislation that protects firefighters and first responders from cancer-causing forever chemicals in their equipment. Because their job is dangerous enough. Call Senator Collins and thank her for protecting Maine's first responders.
I went from Phoenix, Arizona
Lease a new 2026 Sportage LX front-wheel drive for $239 a month.
You are watching WFVX, Fox 22, Bangor.
The alternative to a nuclear deal with Iran would appear to be a military conflict, and the U.S. has a major presence in the region. Iran and Russia also conducted joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman today. Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin is in Washington with more.
With the drums of war beating louder, in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran and Russia held live-fire naval exercises, which included vessel raids and ship seizures, and sent a notice to airmen not to fly over Iranian airspace during the drills, which could include cruise missiles. The U.S. is engaged in the largest military buildup in the Middle East since the eve of the Iraq War. The Pentagon has deployed more than 120 warplanes to the region, including 50 in the past 48 hours. F-15 fighter jets, stealth F-35s, KC-135 refueling tankers, and a squadron of F-22 Raptors. 6 of the Raptors are now en route to the UK after having to turn back to their base for technical reasons yesterday. Plane spotters in Israel have reported seeing an unmarked aircraft landing with U.S. Special Operations Forces. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk told any Polish citizens to leave Iran immediately.
I don't want to scare anyone with any possible developments, but we all know what I'm talking about. The possibility of a heated conflict is very, very real.
The USS Ford aircraft carrier strike group is near the Strait of Gibraltar, but still a few days from the eastern Mediterranean. The Times of London and the BBC are reporting on tension between UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Trump after the UK barred the US from using a Royal Air Force base and Diego Garcia for an attack on Iran, amidst concerns the strikes may violate international law. In late January, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar issued statements signaling they would not allow their airspace to be used to attack Iran while diplomatic efforts are ongoing. What we are not seeing is a buildup of U.S. land forces that would indicate a ground invasion like we saw before the Iraq War in 2003. In Washington, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
The inaugural meeting of President Trump's Board of Peace convened today to provide a status check on the Gaza peace plan. Some members have upped their pledge to $7 billion, while others are pledging personnel to help rebuild. Fox's Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
President Trump launching his Board of Peace in Washington Thursday, with dozens of countries focused on rebuilding Gaza after its war with Israel.
An easy word to say, but a hard word to produce: peace.
The total cost to rebuild could reach $70 billion. Members are also expected to commit thousands of military members for a stabilization force.
Gaza must not get stuck in a no man's land between peace and war.
Some of the U.S.'s closest allies, including France and Germany, have not joined the board and instead renewed their support for the United Nations.
We are hearing the chattering class criticizing the structure of the board, that it's unconventional, that it's unprecedented. Again, the old ways were not working.
But while today's meeting focuses on ending one war, another may be brewing. It comes as the president has ordered a buildup of military assets in the Middle East to pressure Iran to give up its nuclear program. Iran, meanwhile, is holding military drills with Russia.
Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
When lawmakers return from recess next week, Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie plan to force a vote that would require Trump to get congressional approval for an attack on Iran. The assets now in place make it possible for an attack as early as this weekend. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Police arrested former British Prince Andrew on Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Authorities are investigating whether he committed a crime by leaking documents to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Fox's Stephanie Bennett has more from London.
Police searching the home of former Prince Andrew Thursday, now under arrest over his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, charged with suspicion of misconduct in public office.
This is the most spectacular fall from grace for
a member of the royal family in modern times.
Earlier this month, authorities said they were investigating claims that Andrew shared confidential government documents with Epstein while serving as UK trade envoy back in 2010. King Charles, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's older brother, saying in a statement, quote, "What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation." Andrew and the royal family have long been plagued by his alleged dealings with Epstein. He was also accused of sexual misconduct by Virginia Roberts Guthrie, whose family released a statement saying, quote, "Our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty." Andrew was stripped of his royal titles last year but continues to deny any wrongdoing. Today also marks his 66th birthday. The charge of misconduct in public office carries a potential maximum sentence of life in prison. At Buckingham Palace, Stephanie Bennett, Fox News.
And just ahead, we have your full 5-day forecast. Keep it right here.
Braden Smith leads Purdue against rival Indiana. Fox College Hoops Friday tips off at 8 Eastern.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Do you want free internet? Forever? You got it. Really. We mean it. Spectrum is offering free fiber-powered internet forever. Want it? Just call this number and switch 4 mobile lines to Spectrum for a lifetime of internet you never pay for. It's not a trial, it's an unprecedented offer. So we'll say it again. Free fiber-powered internet forever. Have you called yet? Because your internet is forever. But this ad ends now.
ABC 7, Fox 22. The place we call home, telling main stories wherever you roam. From sunrise shores to forests of pine, hard work, strong hearts, values that shine. From old towns to harbors, back roads to ocean blue. Fox 22.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
All right, thank you, Da Vinci Signs, innovative signage designed for impact. All right, here we go out there for us today. Temperature's not too bad, hanging out mid-30s across the area once again, near normal. 37 here in Bangor, 34 Machias area. Tomorrow, same story, followed by a bit cooler getting in here over the weekend, as the really cold stuff is still locked in over here, warm stuff across the south. We're fighting across the Midwest right now, but overall, we will have cooler temperatures flooding in for us likely by the end of the weekend. The wind has gone calm across the area, thus some dense fog is likely tonight into tomorrow morning for sure, and then watch out for dense fog 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the wind, though, will pick up tomorrow afternoon, especially along the coastal areas. We could see wind gusts near 25 miles per hour tomorrow night into early parts of Saturday morning as well. All right, so going forward, though, temperature-wise, great out there today, highs back in the 30s. Tomorrow, though, again, mid-30s are back in the forecast, and beyond that, though, there could be some snow in the forecast for us tomorrow evening. Already a winter weather advisory posted and a winter storm warning to the south and east of us right now. That, though, it could be expanded a bit to our area later on tomorrow night into Saturday morning, likely with some snow. The heaviest snow probably down east areas, Bangor toward the east, but overall we'll see. But there will be some snow back in the forecast for us for tomorrow evening. So some snow back in the forecast for us tomorrow night in early parts of Saturday, followed by cold nights ahead, lows down near 6 tonight, near 5 tomorrow night, and then a quiet weekend too, with plenty of sunshine later Saturday and Sunday as well. All right, a beautiful day today, right? Light winds out there, plenty of sunshine. We'll take it. Behind here, though, there's a system here. This will likely bring wet weather to the Boston area, New York City as well. That's round one. Round two, though, is back here across parts of Indiana, Illinois. This will bring us that snow shower activity tomorrow evening into early parts of Saturday morning. Well, let's walk you through it. So out there right now, clear skies, increasing clouds, though, throughout the day tomorrow. And here we are tomorrow evening late, early parts of Saturday morning as well, with that snow, light to moderate snow across the area, with a sharp cutoff, though, just north of the area as well. Beyond that, though, it quickly gets out of here by, I would say, midday-ish on Saturday. Sunday, we're dry. Monday, too, with temperatures a bit cooler. And beyond that, I'm going to run this through probably Wednesday into Thursday. We could see some snow back in the forecast for us, probably later on Wednesday of next week. So overall, we're not quite done with the snow around here for the winter, as you know. All right, so snowfall looks like this. This is one model run here, but somebody's going to get a couple inches of snow likely tomorrow night and early parts of Saturday morning. This could be a 1, 2, or 3 inch snowfall in the areas you see here. But our snowpack could use the snow, 9 inches here in Bangor, much more as you go north. And again, we're going to add a bit to this throughout the night tomorrow night. Our forecast, though, for tonight, though, is partly cloudy skies. Some dense fog is likely. Look for lows down near 6 for tomorrow. All right, partly cloudy skies or increasing clouds throughout the afternoon with a high temperature near 34. And then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows snow tomorrow night into early parts of Saturday, then mostly sunny throughout the day on Saturday, 28 for a high. Sunday back in the mid-30s, followed by some more light snow on Monday afternoon.
Jeff, thank you so much. And all the tournament coverage you could possibly want is just ahead. Stay with us.
They've got the sharpest pencil in town. Have they just sit around that showroom figuring deals and whittling that old pencil down? They know that if you buy once, you're gonna be back. So instead of buying one, you're buying two, and that's a fact. They've got the sharpest pencil in town.
So come on down, neighbor. The coffee pot's on.
Listen up, team. It's tourney time, and the pressure's on here at Down East. We need to deliver big time.
Here's the latest standings. They're coming from the county, Machias, MDI, all over.
What's the plan, Coach? Give them a slam dunk deal on a 2026 Tacoma SR5 double cab. Qualified buyers can lease for $459 a month for 39 months with only $1,000 down. Remember one thing, it's okay to travel as long as it's in a Toyota.
No matter what team you're rooting for.
All roads lead to Down East, Maine's #1 Toyota team.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
There's no reason to be overwhelmed. No. We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
Keaton Wagler in 8th ranked Illinois.
How about this kid?
Take on UCLA.
What a champ!
Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox Primetime Hoops.
This is Friday Night Fast Break Tournament Edition. Brought to you by Dorsey Furniture and Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Fast Break Tournament Edition presented by Coastal Auto Parts and Dorsey Furniture. Jack Webb, Max Sturm, Doug Banks. The boys are back together on the desk. I'm feeling a little claustrophobic, man. It's a little tight up here, huh?
Yeah, I haven't sat this close to you in a while. It's weird.
Yeah. We're on the desk together again. Another day of tournament basketball in the books. MX?
Yeah, it was a great day, and I think we talked about it earlier, this being one of the better days that we've had so far. Great basketball all throughout since last week, but today I think was the most exciting day, so excited to show all these folks what we got to see today.
100%. Doug, you got to take a little break, or I don't want to say break, after your busy work day, you know, being an actual journalist. You got to come and catch some action tonight, huh?
It was 2 great games as well, and it's going to be interesting to see the 2 winning teams compete against each other because the games that they played tonight was all out spectacular.
With that being said, we've got some great action to take you through. Let's start by taking a look at the Class D boys bracket heading into today. This is before the games happening at number 1 Machias against number 5 Hodgson, and number 3 Fort Fairfield taking on number 2 Madawaska. Let's not waste any more time. Jump right into today's games. First game of that day was number 2 Madawaska and number 3 Fort Fairfield battling for a spot in the D North Final. We pick it up in the third. Tigers down 9, but look at the ball movement. Charlie Griffith finishes it off with the layup. Don't look now, but here comes Fort Fairfield. Caden Nalla launches the NBA 3, and it's nothing but net. Tigers will bring it within 2. Madawaska's in a drought, but here comes their Superman, Quinn Pelletier. He finishes through the contact for the bucket and the foul. They're up 4 after the third, but the Tigers refusing to go away. Lucas Cormier drains the 3. Fort Fairfield takes a 1-point lead in the fourth. But Pelletier answers the bell again. He drives, pumps, steps through for the 2 and the lead. Madawaska would go on a run, and here's the dagger. Braden Pelletier finds Alec Goodrow, who buries the corner 3 to put the Owls up 7. Then it's Pelletier with the cherry on top. Watch this. Denies any hope of a comeback with this block as Madawaska advances to the D North Final.
It feels great, man. We've been hoping for this since we lost last year. This has been our goal, and I'm glad we got here.
Now, who will Madawaska face in the regional final? Number 1 Machias and number 5 Hodgson duke it out to decide it. The number 1 team would get going early when Caden Carter finds Mickey Fitzsimmons outside the line. He's open, and he pulls it, and he's right on the mark. The Hawks respond with great ball movement and a 3 of their own. This one comes from Cameron Hannington. No one around him, and he gets it to go. Hodgson back at it again. This time it's Captain Kyron Carleglio in the corner for the 3. It is up, and it is good, and the Hawks stay in it. They try to keep it going, but this pass is picked off by Liam O'Connor. He's going the other way. One man to beat, some touch on the glass, and it goes. And O'Connor is all over the floor in this game. This time he dishes to TJ Holmes right under the net, and he gives O'Connor the assist. Second half, he's back for more. Here's the drive, here's the tough shot, and there's the 2. Machias moves on with a 56-51 win.
You hear a lot of stuff just like that you can't get over the first round, and it's your mental thing, but once we got over the first round the other day, it was good.
Now let's pause and take a look at the updated boys bracket heading into the regional title game, and we have Machias and Madawaska going at it in the regional final, and they will face whoever the Class D South winner is. But before we take our first break tonight, let's talk about Class D boys and the action today. Jack, you had the early game, so it's only right that we let you kick this one off.
I did have the early game. When I got there, the Owls were kind of stagnant. You know what I mean? They were up at half, and they just couldn't get anything going on offense. And, oh, my God, I'm blanking on the name. It's been a long week. Someone help me out here. Help me out here. Who do we got? Oh, no, it's the Tigers. Oh boy, this is a disaster. This is an utter disaster. It's been a long tournament week. Give me a break.
Live this week.
Give me a break. But anyway, they were dominating. They had it rolling. And I think right here, Quinn Pelletier took over on this play. And the bench was quiet. The team on the floor was quiet. It looked uninspired until that show of emotion right there. He got everybody fired up, and they took over from there. And it was quite the showing. It was quite the showing for the Owls.
Yeah, and they really did have a great game in that one. And the other game was really good, too. You saw Machias, the number 1 seed. They had Hodgson, who had the upset win earlier. Hodgson really did fight hard in that game. Machias, though, just lethal from outside and could find those backdoor cuts inside, too. Great finishes, great skill all around from Machias. And I just think even with the play of Hodgson, because they didn't play a bad game. They kept it close throughout until the end there. Machias was the favored team, and they are well deserving of the spot that they have in the regional title game.
And I think, we're going to see Jeffers later, Quinn Pelletier. There's so many great players. Jacques Carleglio right there. There's so many great players in this D North bracket that is just so much fun to watch. I'm really excited for this regional final on Saturday, Doug?
No, that's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't know who's going to be coming out of the South D bracket, but from all things considered, I feel like in recent history, North D, those out of the smaller brackets, I feel like Northern Maine has always been a little bit better than Southern Maine.
Those teams in the county can compete now.
Oh, they can every year.
They can compete, and to be fair, that game from this morning feels like it was last week. I just want that on the record. I want that on the record. We're going to go ahead and take a quick breather. I'm going to take a moment for myself, too. Don't worry. Don't go anywhere. Class C girls and boys action coming up after the break.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Keep your next building project on track when you plan ahead with help from Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center specialists offer professional plans with customizable 3D renderings available to bring your project to life. Once your design is finalized and approved, you'll receive a full materials list. And when you buy all your materials from them, Hammond will refund your design fees. Get your building project off to the right start when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Located on Wilson Street in Brewer, Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, where you'll find only the best sushi, Asian favorites, and specialty crafted cocktails that will satisfy anyone. Try tatami seating for an immersive experience. Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, bringing delicious traditions to you.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
A little winter weather never stopped Old George or Toyota from offering incredible savings to celebrate his birthday on vehicles from the longest-lasting brand at the Toyota Washington's Birthday Savings Event. You could get $4.99 for $72 on an affordable Corolla gas sedan or Corolla hybrid sedan with available all-wheel drive. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Come get your savings in honor of Old George at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Our names were whispered through time, from generation to generation. Nothing is impossible for God.
Welcome back into Fast Break Tournament Edition presented by Coastal Auto Parts and Dorsey Furniture. Jack Webb, Max Sturm, Doug Banks. Fellas, we've got 4 more Class C games to cover tonight. Before we do that, let's take a look at what the brackets look like going in. Starting with the girls, you got Mattinacook taking on Caribou in the top semifinal, and #3 Foxcroft Academy taking on #2 George Stevens.
Now for Class C North boys heading in tonight, we got top seed Caribou against #5 seed Washington Academy. And then at the bottom there, we got Fort Kent at #3 and Mattinacook Academy at #2.
The first Class C semi of the day was #3 Fort Kent taking on that 2 seed Mattinacook. This was a great one. We picked it up in the first. Andrew Oliver starts fast. He puts the Lynx up 5. But the Warriors would erase that deficit quickly as Aiden Jeffers, remember the name, you probably already know it, he lays it in to tie it at 5, but MA would take control the first half. It's Oliver, again with a corner 3 to put the Lynx up 8. They'd lead 29-5 at the break. Fort Kent, though, would storm out of half as Mason Pelletier drains a 3 from pretty much the same spot. 6-0 run out of the break. They're up 2. Lynx fighting back as Oliver feeds True Weatherby, the big fella. He lays it in to put Mattinacook up 3, but this is where it changed for good. End of the third, Jeffers on the break. He gets intentionally fouled, but also finishes the bucket. That's a 4-point play after the extra free throw. Warriors up 4 in the fourth is Jeffers again. He drives, finishes through the contact for the bucket and the foul. Yet again, he puts Fort Kent up 4. Then it's Jeffers again with the cherry on top. He had 23 points. 18 in the second half, 11 in the fourth quarter. Is #3 Fort Kent advances to the D North final. They'll take on Caribou.
I mean, it feels great. Our school hasn't been known as a basketball team, and we've just always wanted to get to this point, and to finally do it feels great.
Feels great, everybody doubting us, thinking they're gonna, win. It just feels great just coming in here and getting them out of there. We come from a small town, so when we come to these places, like I said in the last interview, we just gotta show out and then show what we can do, and I think we did that tonight.
And who will face Fort Kent on Saturday? Will number 1 Caribou clinch their spot? Or will Washington Academy give us another upset? It was Washington getting it started as the ball is kicked out to Jaden Maher. He wastes no time jacking that one up and putting it between the iron for 3. Now watch this. Vikings senior Colby Willett looking like Jokic with this toss to Landon Bellinger, who very casually puts that up with one hand in the layup for 2. Then on the next play, Bellinger forces the turnover, picks it up. DeClaint Miller tossed it to Owen Corrigan, and finally he goes down the court and places it in with the dunk, and this place goes nuts. And how about another triple from Corrigan to follow up that dunk? And that one goes, and the Vikings start to pull ahead. Raiders fight to stay in it with a 3 of their own from Parker Cates, but it's not enough. Tipped pass falls to Willett. He finishes the play, and the Vikings move on with a 70-55 win.
We just had to bring up our energy, and that's really it. Got us pumped up, and we just went from there.
Now for C girls, it's number 2 George Stevens Academy taking on number 3 Foxcroft Academy. We're going to pick this up in the first. It was all Eagles to start. Layla Hutchins swats the shot away as GSA is up 7-2, but here come the Eagles. Addie lays it in, and after a 10-0 run, it's 12-7 Ponies. Eagles trying to steal some momentum back. It's Taylor Grego. She finishes the fast break layup, and the Eagles are only down by 4. End of the first half, it's Maddie Muth. She knocks down the jumper, and it's 25-18 Ponies at the break. Foxcroft Academy rolling out of halftime. Dave feeds Casita Lebel, who lays it in to put her team up by 11. Eagles clawing back. Hutchins grabs the offensive board and lays it in to bring them within 4. But the Ponies would pull away. It's Allie Cook who gets the bucket and the foul. Foxcroft Academy punches their ticket to the C North final. Final score, 46-35. And then we're going to move on. We go to our last Thursday game at the Cross Center. Who will be taking on Foxcroft Academy? Will be top seed Mount Cook Academy or 5 seed Caribou. Stay in the first quarter. Caribou's Peyton West gets the offensive rebound, floats it up and over for 2. The Lynx with the ball. Chloe De La Cruz is left wide open down low. That's an easy 2 for her. De La Cruz this time, she's going to be posting up. She'll show great touch for another 2 and moves their lead forward. Vikings will respond with a nice step through from Brian Hamilton for another 2 points. Lynx on offense, a great cross-court pass. It's going to shift the Vikings defense. They're unable to recover, leaving lefty Natalie Turner with a great look from 3. That's good to go. Lynx showing off on defense now. It's Addison Sear with the rejection. De La Cruz gets the fast break started with a great pass down the court to make it Ellis to end the great sequence of basketball there. Caribou would respond with West finishing down low through contact. Look at this touch right here. Thank you very much. It's top-notch right there. Juliana Klauke, she's going to drain the 3-pointer for Monadnock Academy, who will move on to regional finals with a final score of 58-43.
Time for an updated look at those brackets, starting with the Class C North girls. You got Monadnock taking on Foxcroft Academy in the regional final.
And for the boys, it'll be Caribou, that number 1 seed, taking on Fort Kent. Going to be a great matchup in that regional final game to see who will take on the Class C South winner.
Great action in Class C. Let's go ahead and break down that slated game. Max, where do you want to go with it?
Yeah, I want to talk about Foxcroft Academy a little bit. I've covered them earlier this year, so I've become a little bit more familiar with their team. I've been talking to head coach Tyler Muzzy before and after each game. And like I had mentioned earlier today, he mentioned that game versus Calais a few days ago was one of the worst performances that his team had all year, and they came back with a vengeance today. They faced off against George Stevens, another team who has been at the top of Class C North all year long, and he said that they needed to really step up their 2-3 zone on defense in order to compete with this team and to keep up, and they did just that. They were fast all over the floor. There was never really an open Eagle on that court for all too often for that Eagles team. And defensively, they did great. And then they passed the ball around efficiently on offense, too, and created a lot of open shots.
Yeah, I think you can see in the way they responded to adversity, right? Going down 7-2 right there early. George Stevens had the momentum, then a 10-0 run to claw back in it. You could tell they were playing with purpose and playing with high effort today.
Well, I'll shift to the other Class C game there. I'm going to talk about Monadnock Academy because there was something about that game that, it felt like it was the tip of the iceberg. You saw De La Cruz down low, really making any shot that she could. Whether she was double covered, triple covered, wide open, she had the poise and the touch to finish with any shot. And then you look at that right there. That's great ball movement right there and great court presence. But what's also nice, too, is that they got shooters. So she can finish down low, and it's going to collapse the defense in. Whether they're playing zone or man, they're going to focus on her because she's dominant. And then you swing the ball around, and you got number 5 and number 2 who can hit this shot right here. I mean, that's money every time if you're going to leave her that wide open.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think what's so dangerous about what you're describing this Mattinock team is you didn't really say much about Sear or House as
Right.
House lays it in on your screen right now, and those are their two marquee players. Those are the two that have been playing together, growing up forever. They have that almost, help me out.
Telepathic.
Yeah. What? See, why did they even
telegraphic.
try? Why did Thursday tournament week? Why? That's not shame on me for even trying. But anyway,
They can read each
They
other's-
have that correct.
yeah, they're on the same
Correct.
page.
Yes, there we go. they have that connection, and they're just so good together. And I think that's what's so impressive is you're talking about the role players in that team who are stepping up in big ways come tournament time. It seems like they're playing their best basketball. They're going to be a hard team to beat. And I mean, that Mattinock, Fort Fairfield, that's now I remember
There it
the name.
is.
Fort Kent. That's what I was trying to talk about earlier with these forts, man. Jeez,
You mean Foxcroft Academy.
no. I'm talking about the Mattinock Fort Kent boys game. That
There
was
you go, okay.
everything you love in tournament action in terms of just going back and forth, star players in their own right, making plays, making big-time shots. That was so entertaining. This game you're watching right here, it just encapsulates what is so great about the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I read the article about this game before watching it, and I thought it was so fascinating that the title of the article was how a 4-point play shifted the tide for Fort Kent.
Mm-hmm.
And now actually watching it, you could see it too. I mean, you mentioned it during one of the Class D games, is that it took one play to shift momentum. And it happened right there, exactly. That one play, it could be either an offensive play, defensive play, just something. All it takes is one play to shift everything.
Well, and talk about a halftime adjustment. Remind me what their deficit was at halftime. It was...
Oh, yeah, another
Was
tough question right now.
They were down,
Yeah,
and they were
24
not.
points.
They weren't scoring the ball the way that they were in the second half. I mean, Aiden
Jeffers.
Yes, Aiden Jeffers. He had somewhere like 3 points or whatever, and then he had 18 in the second half. They went in, they figured out what they needed to do, and they capitalized.
Folks, you just got a great look at Tournament Week Scramble Brain on this Thursday. Don't go anywhere, though. We've got Friday's schedule with some adjustments and our final thoughts if we can get them out of our brain.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. One of our clients was badly injured in a hit and run. I was able to work with the police and the DA's office to get him a $500,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, I'm your go-to guy.
You heard it was a hit. You heard it was a smash. A wonder. A phenomenon. An international sensation. But you haven't heard them.
March 16 at the Cross Insurance Center. Get your tickets today.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
Come see us at R&K Variety in Hamden. R&K Variety is more than just a convenience store. With delicious homemade food made fresh daily, we offer hearty meals that don't break the bank. Whether it be our delicious chicken pot pie, our famous lasagna, or one of our savory soups, you can't go wrong at R&K Variety. Looking for a drink after work? R&K Variety is an agency liquor store with an impressive selection. R&K Variety, more than just a convenience store. We're your neighbor, chef, barista, and friend. Stop by today.
In the great green woods, there was a fishing line and a red lobster buoy, the sun over the pine. And there were 3 little moose sitting on chairs, and 2 big boots, and a pair of bears, and a little toy boat, and a bowl full of blueberries, and a quiet old loon who was whispering, "Hush, good morning, stars. Good morning, air. Good morning, Maine, everywhere. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, sun. Good morning, the light in everyone. Good morning, Maine. Local news, weekdays at 7 a.m.
The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Atlanta, where the peaches are sweet and donuts are sweeter. Coverage begins Sunday at 2 Eastern on Fox.
Fast Break Tournament Edition presented by Coastal Auto Parts and Dorsey Furniture. I'm Jack Webb. That's Max Durham. That's Doug Banks. Hey, we got to give a little tease about what's coming tomorrow with some schedule adjustments as well. The Class A North Regionals, keep in mind, because of the snow, they have been moved up. The girls, Hamden versus Mount Ararat's now at 5. Brunswick versus Camden Hills is now at 6:45. Same thing for the Class B North Regionals in Bangor. Lawrence versus Gardner is now at 5. Gardner versus Coney is now at 6:45. Then in Class A South on Saturday, you got Chevers versus Sopo and the girls. Then the boys are going to be Chevers versus Portland. Class B South Regionals going to be Gray New Gloucester versus Oceanside at 2. And Madomic versus Yarmouth at 3:45. All right, final thoughts before we say goodnight. Doug, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm looking forward to that Lawrence-Gardner game, and we talked about it last night, I believe, where we had dominant players on both sides but not at the same position, which makes it really interesting because they're almost never going to guard each other, except for maybe like they switch off a screen or something like that. So it's going to take their teammates having to play equally dominant defense and offense to make the game equal. And it's going to be interesting to see what the play styles and the strategy is going to be like for that game.
I think for me, I'm looking forward to those Class A regional final games tomorrow, especially that one between Camden and Brunswick and those two boys teams. Camden last year had an early playoff exit, and they have said we want to blow out every single team that we play along the way. They are the #1 seed, and they're led by Nolan Ames, who is quite the basketball player. And then for Brunswick, I talked to Rylan Lay after the game that they won, and he said, we're on a revenge tour, and every game is personal. So I think that these two teams and these two mindsets and energy clashing tomorrow is going to be quite the game.
And trust me, I'm really excited for Class B. I am jealous you're going to see Nolan Ames. I mean, that guy is appointment television.
Insane.
We saw him with that little behind-the-back layup last night, Doug.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah, and we talked about how, if there's any team that was going to be Bangor, it was going to be Camden Hills. So that's going to be a really interesting game to watch.
For me, you might have seen the scrambled brain tonight, but nothing beats tournament week, right? I mean, just going around, seeing the same faces every day, and the sense of community, right? Like we got my guy, Coach, who's always in the corner, the people at the MPA, the different conversations you get to have, the people you get to catch up with, the people you get to meet, the new relationships built with everybody, not just individually, but the community as a whole. It truly is the best time of year, and as Doug said last night, we're going to miss it when it's gone. Only 2 days left this week. We certainly got to enjoy it. We'll be right back here tomorrow night, Fox at 10 for all your Class B and A coverage. We better see you there.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC7, right now for ABC7 News at 11.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head for
Kate Hudson and Michael Irvin on Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight.
He set a fire under my parents' bedroom.
He sent another letter.
His parole hearing's coming up next week.
You want him to suffer like you've suffered.
More than anything.
We will open the floor to impacted parties.
My name is Donald Hart. 20 years ago, Andrew Clark murdered my family.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
A fire in Hamden tonight drew multiple crews to the